What is up, everybody? It's your boy, Isaac of the Dead, back with another video. Still working on The Office. Probably gonna take some time to get there, but we're getting there. So let's talk about something real quick. I've been having a lot of these arguments online about media literacy in reference to classic movies, even the newest Superman movie coming out. I've seen a lot of literary analysis and critical analysis of classical movies, and a lot of people come to the conclusion that the old things that we used to like, that we consider based, are actually woke. Even though the term woke wasn't coined until probably the mid 2010s or so, somewhere around the time Donald Trump broke the minds of Hollywood and every liberal to exist. But let's analyze the argument for a second, right? Because people say comic books have always been woke, and they reference Superman, for example, about how he stands for I argue he stands for the truth, justice, and the American way, something that woke people will refuse to acknowledge, as they only acknowledge the fact that he is a immigrant. I would argue he's more of an alien refugee who did not willingly come to Earth, but rather he was sent to Earth by his parents. You can find a Christian allegory in there as well, as the Father sends his Son to Earth to save the people. Very much a Christ allegory there. Joe Shuster and Jerry Siegel, being Jewish writers, Jewish immigrants who created Superman, people immediately jump to the conclusion that it's about immigration, and it's always been woke, guys. Well, I mean, if you read 1930s comic books and the Golden and Silver Age, comic books, you would know that not everything is woke. Not everything is progressive. Sure, there might be moral lessons to be taught there, but people act like we're being trained by a certain institution. And I would say, sure, there's some arguments to be made there, but if you're making that argument from a liberal perspective, then are you trying to ruin this thing for somebody else? Because that's spiteful and hateful as fuck, to try and ruin something for somebody else. Or are you trying to call out what is actually being done there, in which case you're more based than I thought. However, I just find it incredibly ironic when people say stuff like the X-Men have always been woke. And I do not have receipts at this very moment, as I don't have time to edit these videos. But Stan Lee created the X-Men. The myth of the X-Men is that Stan Lee created the X-Men to help enhance social justice, or something like that, right? When in reality, Stan Lee just wanted to stop making origin stories for superpowered characters. That's why he created the mutants. And he said that the social justice stuff, the progressive civil rights stuff, just kind of fell into his lap, and he took advantage of it, which sounds like something Stan Lee would do. So he didn't argue against it, but he also didn't actively create the X-Men as a civil rights protest, or whatever these weirdos need the W for, right? So the idea of this media literacy myth that, oh, you can't enjoy entertainment because it's all woke and you're a dumb conservative or whatever. These people, I find it hard to believe that they can be happy about anything. I find it hard to believe that they can be happy with just a story. And that's funny coming from me, who's somebody who analyzes everything and who criticizes everything. Let's switch the tables up. Let's talk about the newest Superman movie, right? The theme of the new Superman movie by James Gunn is kindness. Being kind is the new punk rock, right? That's sort of the theme. Well, if you want to look at the underlining subtext, as these woke freaks will like to believe that there is an underlining subtext that dumb conservative media illiterate people don't know, which is why they would hate online. That's something they argue, right? So let's look at the underlining subtext of being kind is the new punk rock. Well, we see Superman, who's being kind, right? The new punk rock. But he also gets his ass handed to him the entire fucking movie. So if the underlying subtext is, okay, being kind means you're a beta male who gets bitched out by everybody around him. Nobody likes him, right? He's friend zoned by the Justice Gang. His girlfriend nearly breaks up with him. And he gets his ass kicked by Lex Luthor, Ultraman, everybody in the movie practically, the kaiju too. He can't even control his own dog. And it's not even his dog. His cousin calls him a bitch. Ultraman kicks him in the nuts. I mean, what are you trying to say about people who are just trying to be kind? So we look at the underlying subtext of these things, which of course, whenever people like to dig under the underlying subtext, they're either finding stuff that doesn't exist because it's completely fabricated within said work, or they're only using their interpretation as fact, which in reality is more of an opinion than fact. And so I find it, this myth of media literacy or whatever the fuck is just something that people use an excuse. Shills in particular, shills will use it as an excuse to gatekeep and separate themselves from people who are actively criticizing them and criticizing a piece of work for what it is, right? Propaganda, woke storytelling, whatever it is. And they'll say, oh, but these things have always been woke. Why are you upset now? No, they haven't always been woke. Sure, some might be progressive. Some might be all morality tales like Star Trek or Battlestar Galactica or Planet of the Apes. I don't know. Like some could be progressive, sure. Some were made by liberal Hollywood decades ago. But the fact that you would say that they're woke, there's a clear differential between woke storytelling and progressive storytelling. Progressive storytelling 50 years ago, when you apply context, sure, they would have said it was woke back then, but it's aged well with time. Tell me, how well has The Last Jedi aged? It's been 10 years, almost 10 years since The Last Jedi came out. How well has that aged compared to the woke Kill Bill, compared to the woke Star Trek, the woke Planet of the Apes? Tell me, media literate people, how well these classic things have aged in comparison to your new woke storytelling. If you can't come up with a reason for that, you can go fuck yourself because you're a loser. You're a loser shill who just wants division, who just wants hate. You push slavery, white replacement, genocide. That's what y'all advocate for. All right? That's what y'all do. Now, that being said, I got more content coming out about media literacy. I don't know about media literacy, but definitely against some shills who like to use that as a weapon. But let me know what y'all think in the comments down below. Like, share, comment, subscribe. What do y'all think about media literacy? Is it just a myth like I say it is? Or is there some arguments to be made here? Let me know. Until then, you crack smokers can suck my dick.